Hi everyone, this is Roy Yan from Foundry. In today's video, I'll show you an AI Image-to-3D workflow for relighting using Nuke, Griptape, and Blender. I'll explain how to combine these tools to speed up your production and create high-quality environment efficiently. Let's get started. First of all, let's take a look at this map painting shot in Nuke. In my last video, I showed you how to use Nuke RotoPaint node to direct Griptape AI models, creating a background mountain based on all the image reference from the same shot, which is very nice. But by looking at the result, I still feel it's a little bit empty on the left-hand side of the midground. Instead of inserting another 3D card, I decided to leverage the power of AI to create a 3D rock and be able to apply 3D projection and relighting workflow from Nuke. So for the same reason, I created another Nuke RotoPaint node to paint out the rough shape and the location of the rock. And along with the couple of rock reference layers, I'm ready to take it to Griptape. Now in Griptape, I built a workflow taking the reference and mat from Nuke, generate an image of the rock, and convert it into a 3D geometry. Now let's take a look at my workflow in Griptape. First of all, I have my agentic workflow for the prompt. I start with the text input node and put in the natural language description for the rock itself. And I apply a agent schema to give a little bit more layers and details about the rock itself. You can see all the description categorized very nicely here. And then put on top, there's another line of description about exact number of the input image which I want to use for different purposes. So, and then you can see the node here. I used Google Nano Banana node. I have my 3 input reference image, and the last one is the mask input from the RotoPaint node from Nuke. And the Nano Banana node actually did a really good job to give me multiple results. And keep in mind that the AI generation image process is not like Nuke. When you set up the pixels, they're right there for you. It's not going to change, but from different paths, different try, it might give you a variety of different results you have to compare and tell by yourself. So this is the rock itself with a little bit dry output and the details, the relationship with the background. I kind of like the composition, but I didn't like the texture, the lines and of the texture. And then this one looks much better. The right locations and the right amount of details. So, and then I can use this as an input. The next step here is try to draw the mask. So instead of going all the way back to Nuke to use the RotoPaint node to draw the mask, I can use the Image Bash node in Griptape. And let me just open it up. So you can see that I can create another layer, kind of like a Photoshop. You can just draw on top of it and outline the areas you want the model to draw the mask for you. And then you can see that the Nano Banana node took the outline from the Image Bash as a guideline and draw the mask for me. The reason I picked the red is because there's a lot of white areas in the background. I don't want to have a conflict in between. And then I set this pure red area to be transparent, and followed by invert mask, I get the mask of it. So this is the mask output of the rock. So then the magic happens. I use a 2D image to 3D node, which is a Tripo Image to 3D node to generate the 3D geometry for me. So it is a pretty interesting process, is that you can see that it actually gives you a different version of the model. You can have texture PBR control. You can even specify the level of detail of this geometry. So once you generate it, and you can have a preview in this window. I don't care about the side of the rock, but this side of the rock give me enough amount of a detail for me to do the relighting workflow, so which I think is pretty nice. Because the output is a GLB file format, which is not supported by Nuke at the moment, I can use actually a Blender to bring in this model and then try to come out to the format which Nuke can accept. Now we can import our GLB file into Blender. You're looking at the statistic here. It has almost 1.9 million faces. So this is a pretty high quality model. And then we can export into any format which Nuke can accept. For example, we have Alembic, we have OBJ, and we have USD here. So the next step is to export the Alembic file, in this case, into Nuke. And now let's go back to Nuke. So I already set up a workflow here. You can see that I have a GeoImport node to import the geometry, which is generated by Griptape and converted by Blender. So I have this rock here. And I have my GeoProject UV node to project my texture from Griptape. You can see the textures here. And then I have my GeoTransform node to put in place into the scene, which is already set up at 2.5D in Nuke. Now you can see that the rock is right here, sit in between the layers I want it to be, and the location is on the left-hand side of the midground. In this case, I use a different scanline render to render it out because I want to do another relighting workflow here. So you can see that I have my lighting rigs here. In Nuke 17, we have new indicators and handles for the lights designed for a better workflow for lighting, relighting in Nuke. I have 3 lights here. So one is on top for the highlight, one is on the side, one is at the front for the fill. And let's take a look at the result here. You can see that rock is on the left-hand side of the midground and catching the light from my 3 lights settings. And then it should be able to continue my comp and blend it into the existing background. Here I have my holdouts, my color corrections, and went through the same pipe. And we have the shot here. So this is today's video about AI Image to 3D for relighting using Nuke, Blender, and Griptape. Thanks for watching.